I'm the bad guy. I'm the, I'm the, I'm the bad.
Steps into it, pass is caught! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
Hi everyone and welcome back to part 2 of Across the Gridiron. Now it's time for our special feature. As always, it's touchdown or turnover. This is a segment where we look at 3 things that have really caught our eye over the weekend and decide if it's a winning moment, is this something that's going to continue, or if it's a one-off or a flop, or it's just not gonna see anything from it. And this week we're actually having a bit of an NFC special with all 3 things we're going to talk about specifically for the NFC playoff race. So let's start off with the LA Rams. Now, the Rams followed up their victory over the Bills last weekend, and they won again on Thursday Night Football, beating the San Francisco 49ers in what I thought was a pretty dreary 12-6 victory. Good God, this was a hard watch. They go top of the NFC West on an 8-6 record, puts them as 4th seed, and it's an incredibly tight division. You know, you've got the Seattle Seahawks who are also on 8-6, and the Arizona Cardinals on 7-7. And even the San Francisco 49ers, you can't discount them just yet because they're only 2 games behind. So the question I have for you, Eddie, based on these last 2 performances especially, do you think the Rams are going to secure their position as the leaders of the NFC West? So touchdown or turnover on that one?
Touchdown for me. I'm calling it. The Rams are heating up at the right time.
Case over. End the season now. Stop the count. Call it done.
The Rams are heating up at just the right time. Stafford is back, and the defense is making big plays. I think no other way to announce your dominance than to play a game like the one they played against the 49ers. It was a snooze fest.
Bore the fans to death. Yes, absolutely.
I know, and it was a Thursday night game, and it's very late for us here in the UK, so I don't even bother to stay up to watch it. I just wait and watch it later on.
Yeah, I watched the highlights. I was bored with the 10-minute highlight package. When you go onto the official NFL YouTube channel and you put the highlight packages, to give you an idea, I've just rewatched the Bills and the Lions, a 20-minute highlight package. Okay, that's a good game. You had the Rams and it was 10 minutes. I'm like, 10 minutes? What happened in this game? And the answer was F4. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah. Listen, right. But you know what? That's how you've got to do it, right? It was a bad game for a lot of the wide receivers, but it just shows you a different side of the Rams, right? It tells you what good coaching is, good game management, which can be said for a lot of teams in the NFL. Winning a game in the NFL is not just about having talent on the pitch. It's managing all the other things as well. Clock management, we've talked about that a few times. Understanding the rhythm of the game, and just making sure that you take the win. And you go into the game and like, this is not the kind of game that we're going to score touchdown over touchdown. So you know what? We're going to keep it tight. Don't do anything crazy. Don't give away penalties and walk away with a win. So, you know what? I think the Rams are going in, and I bet you teams are going to underestimate the Rams. And you've got a Super Bowl winning coach, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I don't think anyone should take them lightly. They're going to be a problem for people.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you there. I'd say probably touchdown as well. I don't think it'll be a lock. I'm not going to call it as early as you do because I can guarantee in a week's time you'll be locking the Seattle Seahawks down. You Mr. Hot Takes himself. But I think you're right. I mean, look, they've got a coach who's been there. They've got a quarterback who's been there. You look at the other teams who they're up against. I mean, the 49ers have been there as well, but they're just in no form at all. You've got the Seahawks. Geno Smith, been a very solid quarterback this year, but you'd probably say Stafford over Smith. Yeah, and then I would say that the Rams are certainly favourites to take that spot. And I think that we joke and say it was a dull as dishwater, that game, but I think it's obviously really important. I mean, coming off that win. Can you imagine what the response would have been had they lost that game? Even if they just conceded one touchdown and they lost 14, 15, 12 or whatever it would be. They had such a great victory and such a great performance over the Bills. When you have these statement victories or these, what seems like a big one-off victory, the worst thing you do is just not turn up the weekend after the next week. Right, because you've killed all momentum, all goodwill. You see in every single sport, you beat one of the high flyers in the league, and then next week you lose it just kills all momentum. So they've got in, it's a hard fought, they've ground out a dull victory, but the only thing that's going to matter is that one that they're going to have in the end, the 1 point that gets added to their win record. They take the W, that's it. So I think that was a strong, a very, very important result, because if they had lost, they'd be on the same record as the 49ers, who we've pretty much all but written off. So I'm with you on that one. Now let's move on to the next one, and let's look at the Minnesota Vikings, who we've touched on them earlier in part one. But on Sunday, they had a resounding 30-12 victory over the Chicago Bears. They have officially clinched their position in the postseason, even though they are fifth seed. So it's kind of one of these weird looking things where you have the teams who have clinched the playoffs in the NFC are seeds 1, 2, and 5, which just all looks a bit weird. But that's because the Lions are the first seed and in the same division. But touchdown or turnover, Eddie, do we think that the Minnesota Vikings can continue this push and continue to push the Lions and the Eagles and possibly even take the first seed position in the NFC?
Listen, if I'm the Lions or I'm the Vikings, I know who I want to be. I want to be the Vikings. And the reason why is because the Vikings' next 3 games, it's all in their hands. They've got divisional games against the Packers, the Lions, right? And they've also got the Seahawks. So if they win all 3 of their games, they're going to take the number 1 seed, because they're going to beat the Lions as well, as part of that. So I definitely want to be in the Vikings. And, the Vikings are sneaking, their way into prominence. They've got the same record now, as the Lions. They've won, games in a row. They've won tough divisional games. They dismantled the Bears that the Lions struggled with, to get a win over. So I'm calling touchdown, on the Vikings, because I think that, they've got a chance that, this is one of those things where, you're climbing up a ladder and they say, don't look down, because you're doing so well. don't look down. You're doing so well. I think the Vikings just need to keep looking up. Don't bother thinking, oh, you know what, we're going to get to the number 1 seed. Just win the next game. Win the next game, and then win the next game. And then you never know. You could be the number 1 seed and have home field advantage all the way to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, you mentioned running. It depends if you're glass half full or half empty. Yeah. Obviously, I know you're a very positive man, Eddie. You're always half full, aren't you? I've seen you on a dance floor. You're always incredibly positive. But you've mentioned there. Who do you say it was? The Lions, the Packers, and the Seahawks. So they are 3 teams we've all mentioned as still having playoff aspirations. These are all teams they've got games to play for, and it's okay playing the Chicago Bears and beating the Chicago Bears. They're 3 teams who all have something to play for, who are all in and out. Now, the half empty bit is, wow, they are tough games and they could easily lose one of them, right? But a half full would be, as you said, it's in their own hands. And what a statement that would be if they go out and win every one of those games. Think about the momentum they would carry into the playoffs. Knowing they've just beaten the Lions, they've beaten the Packers, and they've beaten Seahawks, they will fear nobody.
Absolutely.
And we talked about this before. Momentum, right? Winning breeds winning, and if they can go and they can win those 3 games, position themselves at the first seed, it'll be hard. It would be hard to argue for them the chance of them going to the Super Bowl purely based on that momentum alone. But let's see how things go. It's one game at a time for them. Could they challenge? Yes. Do I think they will? I see them slip it up.
Oh, okay.
I'd see them slipping up in one of those games. I can't tell you which one, but I think they've done incredibly well. Sam Darnold's been absolutely fantastic for them this season.
Yeah,
they deserve to be in that playoff place. I can see them going potentially, even if the second or third seed, I can see them potentially getting to the divisional. It all depends on how the Lions go with those injuries we've talked about. It depends how Barkley comes back after being roughed up, obviously last week. There's still a lot of unknowns, and as you said, Dan Campbell potentially has the capacity of doing something too aggressive in a game, like try and do an onside kick as the first punt return. Yeah. So, but yeah, I look, fair play to them. I don't think they'll take the top seed, but I think they should be incredibly proud of what they've done this season. Okay, so the last one we're going to look at is again in the NFC, as we said, the Green Bay Packers. Now, I've got a friend who's a big Green Bay fan, so I don't want to give them too much credit. But they're looking strong, aren't they? They won again 30-13 against the Seahawks, who are obviously they're in that playoff chase themselves. They're all but guaranteed. They've got a 99.99999% chance of securing their sort of playoff spot. And that's despite them being the 6th seed out of potential 7. But they have a better record than the Buccaneers. They have a better record than the Rams. So again, looking at the NFC title as a whole, do you think they can challenge for the NFC title?
No, I don't.
Right, move on. Right, okay. So thank you for watching Across the Gridiron.
No, I don't. I just, I still think that they're a competing team, right? But I don't think they're built now for deep runs in the playoffs. I just don't see them. I think that they're gonna be competitive. They're gonna be competitive. I know that they played the Lions very close. Even when the Lions beat them, it was a 1-score game. But I still think that they're short. They're short. Just a little short.
No, I think that's a fair comment. I think again they've done well. The young quarterback in, to have a good, strong winning record is obviously no easy feat. The NFC is a very sort of challenging division. But yeah, I think you mentioned the same when we were talking about the Houston the Texans in part 1, how you've got your core group in the AFC and you've got Texans maybe just one rung below that. That's kind of where I see the Packers. Now, no one's going to want to go to Green Bay, right?
It's cold.
It is.
It's freezing.
I mean, obviously, my testicles flinch at just the idea of going to Green Bay. But the problem is, because they're going to be a lower seed, they're going to be away most. They're going to be away.
Yeah.
They don't have that home field advantage.
No, they don't have
into
the home
playoffs.
field advantage.
So yeah, I think they one and done, maybe 2. Yeah. But they're looking strong. They're looking good. It'd be a good season for them. But no, I agree. I think that's a turnover. I can't see them challenging the big boys in the NFC. So excellent. So I think that's it for Touchdown Turnover. I think that's it for part 2. We will see you again in part 3, where we will do our predictions and see if Eddie, for the first time in doing this, has he actually had a week when he has beaten me in predictions. Stay tuned in part 3 to find out if he actually has.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the